Discuss today is what is in REST API. So this is kind of beginning of a series where we going to cover what is REST API, what is GraphQL, and what is gRPC, and just try them out. So REST API simply stand for Representational State Transfer Application Program Interface. Definitely API is about application program interface. So REST is about representational state transfer. So we'll go through what are the properties of this REST API. So it's kind of a I told earlier as well, API is kind of a set of rules and conventions we use to interact with services. So RESTful API is based on REST principles. So it was introduced in 2000s by Rowe. So let's learn what are the properties of REST API and how to design a proper REST API. So REST API don't have any states. So what's a state means? So let's say let's take an example for restaurant. For restaurant, basically when customer order a food and then the waiter remembers, okay, this customer orders this food, and check the kitchen whether it is ready, kind of thing. But in REST API it's not like that. A customer will say, okay, I need this food, and waiter is passing that to the kitchen, and kitchen will say, okay, deliver this food to this customer. So waiter is not going to memorize anything. So for the definition, it says each request from a client to server must contain all the information needed to understand the process of the request. Server do not store information about the state of the client between requests. Basically it's like client send a request, it contain all the information, and server respond it depending on that request. For the early example, so in the client request, that means, okay, I am the customer, I need this food. So server create that food and just respond to that request, and then it return the food. So other thing is basically resources. It's a kind of an abstract thing. In RESTful API, everything treated as a resource. So resources are identified by URL. Following are some examples. So pets. So this says, okay, it's about pets. For the second one, it's about books. Third one, it's about countries and country ID. That means, okay, this is for a particular country. For a given country set, I mention, okay, for this country. And then so this is kind of mistake, it might be cities. So then I mention, okay, cities and this city ID. That means, okay, for the following country, and like in that country, this is the city. So these are resources. And the other thing is, we need to learn about HTTP methods. So in RESTful APIs, okay, we define everything as resources, and we have to mention, okay, whether to create it. Let's say pets, it means, okay, pets, whether to get pets, get pet information, or create a pet, or update existing pet, or delete a pet, or delete a book when we consider books. So we have to have some kind of a notation to communicate that to the server. So that is done by HTTP methods. So basically there are several methods, but these are the very high level thing. The high level, it's a kind of a very commonly used methods. One thing is get. So if I mention, okay, get pet means I need to get each and every pets. If it is post, I have to create pet. If it is put, I need to update a pet. If it is delete, that means I need to delete a pet. So other thing is, it's about client server. So when we consider language, we have to have a client and a server. Same applies to this one as well. So we have to have a client who asks for data and the server who serves. So basically those services are independent, but those are communicated using REST APIs. So let's learn how to design these URLs. So let's say there are principles I need to teach you. So let's say there are conventions. So if it is get, it's about get data. If it is post, that means create. If it is put, that means update data. If it is delete, that means delete data. So let's say if we have pets, basically in resource level we mention in a plural. So if I mention, if it is get, that means we have to get each and every pet. If it is pets and post, that means we have to create a pet. Let's say if it is mentioned pets and put, do we have meaning? When we consider an update, so it is about updating a one in most cases. So for that updating one, we have to identify, okay, who's the pet that we are going to update. For that reason, we have to have a proper identification for put. This is about update one pet. So why for post we don't have any ID, but put we are having ID? The reason is when we create a pet, we don't have an ID to create a pet. So it's a kind of, another thing is it's a kind of a general convention to use plural form without an ID. The real reason is when we create a pet we don't have ID, so it must be like this. Let's say pets delete. If we need to delete a one, basically we have to mention a ID as well. So what's the meaning of having this? That means we have to get a specific pet. Those are the general conventions that we need to follow. So let's learn how to design proper APIs when we have multiple resources. Let's say we have set of countries, and for a given country we have different cities. For those kind of things, we have to design APIs like, okay, the high level thing is countries, and for a given country ID, I think country ID, there are cities, and we can take a one city using city ID. Let's say, can we have kind of this one slash can we have kind of this is invalid. The reason is when we read this one, it mentioned, okay, there are a lot of cities, and in a city we have countries. It is not like that. It is like there are a lot of countries. Given a country, we have multiple cities. So we have to design APIs using the hierarchy. So let's say for this kind of API, if I mention, okay, countries get, that means I need to get every country. Let's say country slash country ID, and then let's say cities post. It means I need to create a specific city in a specific country. So that's how we can design API if we have multiple cities in a single country and we have multiple countries. Let's take a scenario like this. We are having a lecturer, and lecturer is teaching multiple subjects, and there are subjects, for given subjects there have multiple lecturers. For this scenario we can use either lecturers lecture ID, and then subjects and subject ID, and we can do otherwise we can do it other way as well. It's subject ID, lecturers and lecture ID. So since this means, okay, there are subjects, for single subject we have multiple lecturers, and we can, this is the whole URL. And for this scenario, okay, we are having multiple lecturers, and for lecturer we are having multiple subjects. So both are correct when there's a kind of a cross hierarchy thing. But if we have basically if we have one country, and for a country we are having cities, so we have to go with this way. That is how we design REST API. So in the next session I'll do a video about how to basically give a hands-on providing a GitHub basically Git repository, and you can just clone it and try it out. So for now, this is all. Thank you.